Hello, my name is Rob Edwards. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today it's time for more news about things that entertain Rob. Welcome to the Natter. First up, a very quick bit of news about Wheel of Time. I had promised myself I wouldn't get distracted and talk Wheel of Time today, but I can't help it. We really are approaching the first episode now, and little sort of drip feeds of information are appearing all over the place. And yes, there's a little teaser about Lagain. Yes, there's a little teaser showing some Shadow Spawn action. But what I wanted to just briefly touch on are these two images from a teaser we got. I watch enough Wheel of Time content on the internet to know that these are not going to be hot takes. This is not new revelatory stuff, but I just want to add my voice to some of the information we've seen here. On the left, we have a picture of Alexandra Wilhelm, I think, who is playing the Gleeman Tom Merrilin. Now, this is a really strong look. This is a great look. I think this is I could absolutely see me role-playing one of these characters as a bard in D&D. Totally cool. I'm not sure it looks like Tom Merrilin, not in my mind. Generally speaking, I'm not a person who takes a lot about the visuals of the characters in a story that I am reading. Certainly not in a book which is as dense with as many characters as Wheel of Time. So there are very few sort of physical descriptions which really stick with me from the books. Nynaeve has a braid. More on that in a second. Rand is tall and red-haired. I'm rapidly approaching the end of it there. Oh, Moiraine is short. But Tom Merrilin has big, droopy, white moustaches. He just does. That's how he's described in the book. That is his one defining feature that I've taken away from the books about him as a physical appearance of him. And I can only assume they've tried to stick some false moustaches on Alexandra, and it's not really worked out. I assume that's what's happened. I do miss them. And this second image I just had to mention. Nynaeve and her braid. Powerful image. And forget that flipping your braid is apparently now the new tugging of your braid. Nynaeve famous for tugging her braid, but this braid flip in this shot, I've no idea what's going on here, what this scene is, but it is awesome and should be celebrated as such. Anyway, that's all I had to say about Wheel of Time this week. Still very excited. We're really getting close now. Can't wait. But I have two other topics that I particularly wanted to address this time around. So let's have a talk about Doctor Who. We are even closer to the start of Doctor Who, launching in the UK on the 31st of October. I suspect we in Finland won't get until the day after. And as I've talked about on my channel before, I'm not, of all the eras of Doctor Who, the Chibnall era for the 13th Doctor has not been my favourite. There are worse stories in the history, the long history of Doctor Who. There are worse stories than the ones we've had in this era. But the stories have been consistently not up to what I want from the show. But that does not mean that I can't get excited when a new season rolls around. Season 12 was a marked improvement over Season 11. I mean, problematic stuff at the end, but Season 12 was a marked improvement over Season 11. And if Season 13 can be a step up from that, we could be getting back to Doctor Who that I am really going to get excited about. So the 6 episodes of this show are going to be called Flux. This is the season title this year, Doctor Who Flux. And the companions this time round are going to be Yaz and Dan, as pictured here. And we've had a little bit of teaser, and as I've done with the Wheel of Time teaser before, I've just pulled out a couple of images that I wanted to briefly touch on. Nothing very much to say about them. I don't even have a spoiler discussion here to talk about, because, of course, I know nothing more than anyone else at this point. First of all, we have, again, not just like this shot. I don't have anything to say about it, really. But this is a great shot of what I'm assuming is some sort of Sontaran shipyard. Certainly, that ship on the right-hand side there is a Sontaran ship. A bit of a cross between what the classic look for them and the new series version of Sontaran ships. And I'm just enjoying the visuals of this season. I think there's a lot of good imagery, a lot of good visuals in this trailer, which has got me quite excited. Maybe they've had the budget for a full season, but only been able to film a fewer episodes because of COVID, and maybe they've been able to find ways to spend that money and put it on the screen. And I think that's what's happened here, because this looks fantastic. We know that Sontarans are back, and we know that they've had a redesign. This is much closer to the classic version of what a Sontaran looks like than the Sontarans from the RTD era. And I don't know. I think they've gone a little bit too retro here. I actually quite like the fact that we've got a bit more definition to the character. The face is looking a little bit less rubbery, a little bit more lived in, and that's a positive thing. But I don't know. For me, it just looks a little bit too 70s Doctor Who. Perhaps if when it moves, when we see a Sontaran talking, when we see a Sontaran acting, if the new prosthetics are such that we get more of an emotion through from the character when they talk, that would be a good thing, and that might change my mind completely. But as it stands right now, it's going to take some readjustment to go back to this old school Sontaran look. I also quite like the 3 pips on his collar, making me think that he is, what's that? Commander in Starfleet? No, that's 2 pips. Oh, well, whatever. It looks like he's got rank insignia from Star Trek: The Next Generation anyway. Next up, again, no idea who this character is, other than we have a name for him and we have an actor for him. The character has been identified as Vinder, and he's being played by Jacob Anderson, who played Grey Worm in Game of Thrones. And he is supposedly a recurring character in this season, although I have a sneaking suspicion a lot of characters are going to end up as recurring in this season, given this is supposedly 6 chapters in one story rather than 6 individual stories. Interesting that in the trailers we haven't seen much interaction between Vinder and the TARDIS team, making me wonder if maybe this is a flashback and we're not maybe the Vinder stuff is taking place independent of the main plotline of the main season. Don't know. Interesting question. But he looks very cool. Speaking of looking extremely cool, this guy. I'm assuming, because we've heard the name Ravager for a new bad guy, I'm assuming that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at a Ravager. He looks freaky. He looks weird with the crystals glowing out the side of his head. We've seen a couple of these guys in the trailer, and I mean, I love the idea that we're going to see some new recurring villains which have a distinctive appearance, that's exciting for me. A final shot from the Doctor Who trailer. I just wanted to show this because this looks amazing. What's this? British redcoats going up against an army of Sontarans? Yes, please. I mean, this is the fact that Doctor Who is even thinking of attempting something like this is astonishing to me. The show has really moved on, apart from when it's gone backwards with the Sontaran makeup, but it's really moved on now. And I think if this battle again ends up being as intense as this shot makes it look, this could be amazing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about this time is a brief chat about some of the things which came out at this weekend's DC Fandome. And again, not a revolutionary thing to be saying this, but I tried to watch Fandome this year and I couldn't engage with it. Last year's DC Fandome was brilliant. I loved it. Lots of really kick-ass stuff dropped from it. And it was big and epic and some really interesting interviews and some really interesting... A lot of that seemed to go by the wayside this time. And I'm not the only one who said this. I thought it was just me, but I've seen several commentators online now have similar opinions about the show as a whole. The DC Fandome was a bit lackluster this year. If they do it next year, maybe they can learn from that and maybe go back to what it was a little bit before. But we did get a few sneak peeks at a few things which look quite interesting. So I've got 3 shots from 3 teasers or trailers that we got, and I just wanted to briefly mention them and the fact that I was excited for them, really. First up, we have this shot from the Flash movie, showing Ezra Miller playing Barry Allen again. Although, interestingly, there do appear to be 2 Ezra Millers in this shot. So this kind of does suggest that we are doing the whole Flashpoint thing, and that unlike in the Flashpoint in the comics, where Barry kind of replaces the Barry Allen of his universe, it does rather see of the universe he visits. It does rather look as though we might end up with 2 Barry Allens simultaneously. That's always fun to watch actors try and play 2 different parts. That could be quite cool. We have a new Supergirl in the background there, and of course, if you watch the trailer or the teaser from DC Fandome, we do hear Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, and we get an image of the back of his head in the Bat outfit. Presumably him in the Bat outfit. I mean, it could be somebody else. And this is all exciting things. It does seem to be doing that whole playing up on nostalgia thing, and it does seem to be taking a great deal of time to get to the cinema, to the point where Marvel has beat them to the punch somewhat with the whole multiverse thing. But I'm still excited. Flash is one of my favourite DC characters. Not necessarily Ezra Miller's Flash, but the Flash generally is one of my favourite characters, and I'm very excited to see what this movie brings. Speaking of people who aren't my favourite DC characters, though, this may seem insane for me to say, but I have never been a huge Batman fan. Don't get me wrong, a big DC fan, as I tell people anytime they want to listen. But I am far more interested in the cast around Batman than I am in Batman himself. So I have 3 favourite Robins. Batgirl is great. The Birds of Prey series is fantastic. Alfred's an interesting character. Batman himself has never really been one which I really connect with. That said, Robert Pattinson's version of the Batman does look quite good. Very sort of detective noir, early Batman stuff, hints at the Riddler. There's stuff to like here. And I am going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it. I have no doubt. But it's not the DC product I am most looking forward to seeing back in the cinema again. I will be honest. We got looks at both Black Adam and Shazam 2 in DC Fandome this time. I picked just a shot from the very short teaser we got for Black Adam to show you here. The Rock finally in suit. This film has been in the making, certainly over a decade now. This has been in the making, but it is finally here. And to see Dwayne Johnson in the Teth Adam outfit, ready to kick ass. Interesting how they are going to make this movie, because Black Adam is occasionally an anti-hero, mostly a villain. So it will be very interesting to see what role he plays in this. I'm assuming anti-hero. But with rumours of members of the modern-day Justice Society also making an appearance in this movie, it will be very interesting to see exactly what path we follow here. I am super excited about this one. And I was a big fan of Shazam, the Captain Marvel movie from DC, with Zachary Levi. I am very excited about the sequel to that. That is still, however, a long way off. They showed some behind-the-scenes stuff, and it looks great. But it was only behind-the-scenes stuff, so we will find out at some point what it really looks like when we get a trailer in about a year. Maybe DC Fandome next year. Anyway, that's it from me this time. Thank you for joining me again for another episode of the Natter, and join me next week for whatever news stories breaks over the weekend, I expect. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.